Thanks for joining us today on one of our thought leadership series topics around AI trends in technology. Thanks for joining us. Typical webinar item, kind of housekeeping items today is I'll be available for questions once I get through the slides. Have about 45 minutes for the content this morning that I think you'll find really interesting. And hang on until the end for kind of follow-up options and an introduction to our next exciting topic that we have coming up in our Thought Leadership series next month. So as always, we record the session and it'll be available to playback, as well as we'll provide the content for folks if you want to pass it along to colleagues as well. So again, use the Q&A portion at any point, but I'll take a pause kind of towards the end of the presentation to answer any questions. And thanks again for taking the time to join us this morning. So to dive right into it, my name is Paul Higger. I'm the Director of Solutions here at Wvds. If you're one of our existing customers of GFC or Wvds, I want to thank you for your business and your continued trust. If you are considering an IT provider or imaging provider, I think what you'll find today is, I lead our team of virtual CIOs, and we spend dedicated time in our Emerging Solutions Committee talking about the direction of technology. And we bring all that experience of our whole team to our clients and offer that to them as a part of our managed offering, as well as provide an offering for our mid-market and enterprise customers around strategy and planning for their businesses. So hopefully you get a flavor for today a little bit for what we do when we take the time to take a breath and see where the direction of technology is going. So hopefully you're here because you have an interest in artificial intelligence or AI or technology and kind of just the direction that AI is going. And I think the logical place to start with AI and just any technology revolution or evolution would be to start with the steam engine, right? That makes sense. This is a picture of the Watt steam engine, and this was one of the driving forces behind the Industrial Revolution, this patent by James Watt. He developed this between 1763 and 1775 with the support of Matthew Boulton. Watt's design really saved a ton of fuel. He actually licensed this based on the fuel savings this had, but it really propelled the first Industrial Revolution. It's identified as making the change in the titanic shift between using technology over human power, and it displaced workers and it mechanized our crops and our agricultural industry in a really profound way, right? Because with the steam engine being able to be mobile, this could replace horses as the main form of power in British industry at the time, and it also meant it could water wheels or horses, teams of horses. In some cases, just to pump water, 100 yards would take a team of 500 horses. And this one steam engine could outpower those 500 horses. So I start here because we have these moments in time where technology makes a step forward that is fundamentally disruptive to the direction of the world and to the economy and to where people are able to fit into that economy and provide their resources to the world. So this really marked the first industrial revolution when we are able to use steam power to mechanize production and agriculture. The second industrial revolution is often akin to the advent and ability for electric power to create mass production and manufacturing. The third industrial revolution is the advent of the computer and the information technology age and using electronics to automate production. And arguably, we are in the fourth industrial revolution, the digital revolution. It's been occurring since about the middle of the last century, and it's characterized primarily by this fusion of technology that's blurring the lines between physical, digital, and biological spheres. So we're beyond electronics, we're beyond CPUs, we're beyond storage. We're going to assume that Moore's law will continue on and to apply, and I'll talk about what that is. But now software, which has no bounds. I've owned and managed software development teams and software companies before in my past, and one of the most exciting and challenging things about being on the front lines in new eras of software is the answer is always it can be done. It just takes time and money to get there. There aren't bounds to software because we can write software that can do almost about anything. And we're on the tipping point for quantum computing, which is going to give us access to, you know, from our perspective, a new form of functionally limitless compute that's going to be available. So we really are in the fourth industrial revolution. We're in a digital transformation age, and it is having profound impacts. And COVID is accelerating certain portions of this revolution, and we'll talk about that, and specifically how artificial intelligence and machine learning is playing a key role in this digital transformation. These revolutions that we've had between the first, second, third, and now the fourth makes us ask difficult questions. Did these changes really increase the quality of life? Do they increase wages for most people? And do these changes put people out of jobs? Or are they forced to learn and reskill and get better jobs and move, propel people forward? As we've gone through each of these revolutions, it's not been equal. There are portions of society that are kind of the haves and the have-nots, and technology isn't always the great enabler. Sometimes we think of, well, we have all this great technology. It is obviously creating more, financial resources for the world. It must be good. Silicon Valley is booming, all these companies, but who really is the one that benefits from that? What percentage of our society, and I'll tie this in all the way at the end, kind of who is benefiting from digital transformation and acceleration in the fourth industrial revolution in a post-COVID world. Fundamentally, right now, we have this interesting force going on between humans and computers. And the advent of artificial intelligence, and really artificial intelligence is definitively gone mainstream. This isn't a PowerPoint presentation. If you've been in PowerPoint recently and have the Microsoft 365 version, you will see as you develop your PowerPoint, on the right side of the screen, it will start giving you suggestions for new designs. And that is machine learning driven by AI data inside of Microsoft Azure's cloud, providing you design ideas to how to improve your PowerPoint. You can also do trial PowerPoints to a digital AI coach. So if you load your PowerPoints into OneDrive or SharePoint in Microsoft Office 365, you have to do it in the online version, not in the client that's installed on your computer. But in the online version, you can take a PowerPoint like I did today and go to the slideshow and play from beginning with AI Coach. And Microsoft Office 365 will turn on your microphone and listen to you give your presentation, provide you advice about your pace, your pronunciation of words. That's all driven by AI. I like to go back to this. I know this is kind of old news about self-driving vehicles, but I think it marked another moment for us. And I like to go back to this scholarly article that was published in 2004, which I'm trying to decide if 2004 is a long time ago or not. It kind of marks my age, and I don't like it. But even in 2004, in the 2000s, this scholarly article was written. It said, by executing a left turn against oncoming traffic involves so many factors that it's hard to imagine discovering a set of rules that can replicate a driver's behavior. So in 2004, a scholarly article is proclaiming that people still matter, and AI and computers are never going to be able to handle all of the data sets necessary to be able to do self-driving vehicles. 6 years later, October 2010, Google announced that it had modified several Toyota Priuses to be fully autonomous in the DARPA challenge. And today, Uber is actively driving people around cities with autonomous vehicles. There's a number of startups driving autonomous vehicles and autonomous trucks on the road today. So we have gone, and it's just another example, like the steam engine, 500 horses being replaced by a small steam engine, more efficient in using gas. We have more efficient AI, more efficient computing, and it's just allowing this continued explosion of what is possible inside of technology. This really stems from a concept called Moore's Law. It was first hypothesized in 1965 by the Intel founder, Gordon Moore. He stated that the number of transistors in a dense integrated circuit will double approximately every 2 years. And the shrinking of transistors enable a large number to be held within the same area, which will result in faster processors that can operate on lower power requirements. And people have said, even Gordon Moore, that we didn't think, this was 1965, didn't think that would be able to run out much more than 15 years. By 1980, we would have maxed out what we could do from a compute standpoint. And obviously we know, and this graph just kind of highlights that Moore's law is alive and well today. It is still growing. You can see the curve is not exponential and is starting to flatten out there a little bit up at the top. And we'll talk about how GPUs have replaced that. But in general, this is still an absolutely staggering growth curve that we are on from a computing power standpoint. And the more compute power available to people, the more storage is available to people, the more that we're able to execute on this limitless possibility in software, we're really able to deliver on some really unique technologies that are absolutely going to be disruptive. One way to just kind of contextualize, I'll give you two images to try to put just how vast of a technology shift Moore's law represents, is if we're looking at 1970, transistors were you could fit 2,300 people inside of a music hall. That was our compute in 1970. Just in 2011, not even taking it, just a Core i Extreme that was in a desktop that we have evolved 10 more years beyond this. It's the equivalent of putting the entire 1.3 billion population of China inside that music hall. That is the scale and shift and exponential growth that we have experienced from a compute standpoint that is really enabling this next digital revolution. The other example I'll give you is this is an IBM 5 megabyte drive being loaded onto a train car in 1956. With inflation, renting, because you couldn't buy this, renting this 5 megs of storage cost about $28,000 a month for 5 megs of storage. Roughly 4 floppy disks, 3 floppy disks, if you remember those. And now every one of us can carry 128 gigabytes of data in our pocket. You can buy those on your way through Walgreens checkout for $10. It's just, that was 1956. Yes, it's a black and white photo, but it's really in the terms of our history, not that long ago, that we have had this shift. And it continues. It continues now as CPU and under Moore's law starts to flatten out a little bit. It's being replaced by GPU accelerated computing. So GPUs are back on that exponential curve. They're this green marker up there. They're getting more dense very, very quickly. And the ratio in which GPUs have been able to grow is outperforming what CPUs are able to do. This gets confusing to people, so let me take a moment and just explain CPUs versus GPUs. And this is why you can't buy a graphics card for your kid's computer right now, is because graphics cards are being used in AI and ML and predominantly in cryptocurrency. There are a lot of volatility, a lot of interesting things going on in the cryptocurrency market. But crypto and blockchain, GPUs or graphics cards in Bitcoin mining graphics cards are the most efficient form of that. And why is that? So one way to kind of think about a CPU is that a CPU is like a really small group of really smart people, really highly talented, specialized workers inside of your computer. And they can quickly do any task given to them. They can say, hey, go write that memory onto disk. We're out of RAM. We can load this program. CPU is able to be, again, it's more like a small group that can do a very large variety of tasks as quickly as possible. In comparison, a GPU is a really large group, not a small group. A GPU is a really large group of individuals, relatively unskilled, but are very fast at doing a repetitive task. And so when you get into cryptocurrency, crypto mining, AI or machine learning, where it's just math, we just need to do raw math, nothing special, not high level thinking and should it be this thing or the other thing, but just needs to burn through basic math equations. Graphics cards and the GPU inside of a graphics card is actually better suited for that workload. And that area is exponentially growing. And the efficiency and the size and the cost and the ability to load GPUs inside of farms of computers sitting inside of public clouds like Azure and AWS and Google are allowing and continuing this AI explosion kind of in our everyday life. So to go back to that DARPA challenge a little bit. We had the first grand challenge in 2004. And in 2005, you had the second DARPA grand challenge where you had to go through various GPS points. And again, we have that result of Google ultimately defeating this challenge, not that many years later. And now, of course, we have Tesla's in 2016. Tesla pushed a software update that allowed the Model S to become self-driving. And fast forward now even to 2020, the next DARPA challenge was to fly an airplane. So the challenges keep getting higher for AI. The complexity keeps getting more difficult for AI. And the AI is continuing to able to stay ahead of that curve. And we're giving it the CPU and GPU in order to be able to power this new work, these new challenges and new AI techniques. So it really doesn't seem to be limits, right? Every limit we put out in front of AI, we're able to program for. And this is all pre-quantum computer, right? CPUs and GPUs are still linear computers doing zeros and ones. Quantum adding qubits, adding 2 more dimensions, is just going to continue to have a vast impact on our ability to do this. So in this case, we didn't actually let a computer fly an airplane, although the autopilot is certainly used a fair amount and will continue to be used and is already embedded inside of our drone technology today, and that will expand. But in a simulator, thinking about like a really high end computer generated, dogfighting situation between an actual pilot and an AI program, the AI was able to defeat an F-16 pilot, highly trained individual, and it's showing that, what warfare looks like, what transportation looks like. It could be vastly different, and it leads us to questions about whether, will we need commercial pilots, and will we need this job and we need that job in a world in which computers are able to do those things. So as AI looks to the next frontiers, we move out of transportation and these kind of abstract, like, okay, Paul, that's interesting, but what is the next step for AI, and where do we see it in the business world on a day-to-day basis? And one of the areas that we've seen a vast increase in the use of AI is inside of IT security. So in cybersecurity, on average, organizations are leveraging AI as a part of and are buying cybersecurity products based on the fact that they have artificial intelligence and machine learning built into them. And the reason why is because, when we talk about malware, you talk about risk scoring within a network or seeing an intrusion within a network. Every device in your network is creating log data. It's writing to some text file somewhere. Every firewall, every switch, every wireless access point, every computer, they're all just writing tons of data. And to have humans sift through that data to try to find a bad actor inside of a network isn't efficient. This is a great use for artificial intelligence. And people are buying cybersecurity products based on this utilization of AI. But an interesting thing for thought is we move that control away from human beings, particularly the control over our network security, and adds an interesting wrinkle into thinking about adversarial AI, or the possibility that, in fact, as we continue to trust AI more, what does that mean if someone were to start writing viruses that intercept AI and actually make the wrong decision? So even this executive vice president of Capgemini cybersecurity has said, this is starting to feel different. It's starting to feel like there is a chance that AI can be used, and particularly adversarial AI could be used to thwart our cybersecurity technologies that we are starting to utilize to trust to review these log files. And there will be viruses that will be able to trick and get around AI or teach AI that what the virus is doing is actually acceptable, because we don't have humans governing it. So we need strong governance over these items, and we need governance continue to be over our data and our data's privacy. When we look at things like GDPR and CCPA and other compliance, this right to be forgotten, this right to say, I want all my data pulled off of Facebook, becomes interesting when organizations like Facebook use AI and machine learning programming. It is taking your data and learning from your data and learning from your behaviors. Is that a part of your record that you should have the right to be forgotten about? So it continues to be a challenge every time we invent something new with AI. it is coming with it. When we use it in security, it also becomes a security risk. We use it to protect our privacy, and it becomes a privacy risk. AI is this really challenging thing that has so much promise and yet has so much risk associated with it as well. And as we know, technology often innovates. 5 megs to 128 gigs in our pocket innovates faster than what we're able to actually regulate around from a government standpoint. And while we don't want to stifle innovation, we also need to protect end users. One of the other interesting battles that's going on, and I've talked about this for a number of years. I remember giving a presentation in Oshkosh back when we did things in person, not that long ago, where I mentioned that, McDonald's has been trial running as you go through a drive-through, an AI chatbot that is really taking your order. And you can see here kind of the output of Microsoft's cognitive services running through McDonald's drive-through. Yes, I'd like 2 Happy Meals, 1 cheeseburger, 1 chicken McNugget, both with fries, applesauce and a chocolate milk and a small orange juice. And you can see the order can be made more accurately by the AI chatbot that's running inside of that drive-through. Fast food is in a constant battle for 99 cents everything. And then you have on top of that this rightful push for fair wages. I'm not here to make a political statement about that we need to provide a fair and living wage for people that we ask, but certain jobs, if you force a business to either innovate in technology so that technology can do the job, or pay an increasingly high wage for a human to do the job, you may not get what you want. What you intended to set out to do was to create higher wages for individuals, and instead those companies poured that money into technology in this fourth industrial revolution like this, and are replacing people with kiosks, ordering with AI ordering, as a way to make sure that at the end of the day, they're still able to maintain the levels of profit that the business expects. You might say that these are pretty easy examples so far. And so let's continue to dive into where AI is having an impact, and maybe even some unique areas that AI is having an impact over the coming years. The most fun example you can always give when you talk about cognitive learning and AI is, of course, IBM Watson and its eventual battle to take on and win at Jeopardy. And you can see just how over time, from 2006 to 2010, how much IBM was able to develop their machine learning to get Watson to go onto the internet and research on its own and gather its own information and be able to present the answers and win Jeopardy in a consistent way. And this was a really one of the foundational moments in 2010 where we said AI was really put on the map. The other part of AI that you are definitively interacting with on a daily basis is inside of natural language to write content. Right? There's just this constant demand for content and articles and new text for search engines and news outlets that are traditional news outlets that are known for obviously journalistic integrity and accuracy in reporting and nuanced reporting, have over the last several years definitively turned over a portion of their writing, especially when there's financial pressure against a decreasing number of people that want to have a physical newspaper. One of the things that they are turning to is tools from Quill or Automated Insights. You can see these by reading an article. This article was produced by Automated Insights, which is an AI author. It is a computer. It's not a person. And this continues on until today. Yahoo Sports uses natural language AI to produce over 70 million reports, match recaps, each unique, that help engage, monetize, and delight over 70 million fantasy football player recaps. It increases the amount of time that you spend reading your fantasy football information and teams and information about your teams. And this too has parallels to like we had in the car industry. There's a scholarly article written that a news story about who, what, and why, and how is a crucial part of a story that's a missing puzzle for AI. So this individual writes that this why to contextualize an author is not going to be possible for AI journalists. Just sounds a lot to me like Levy did in 2004 when he said a computer could not possibly figure out how to do a left turn into oncoming traffic. So again, AI, where we see it has limitations, it is overcoming those, both with the rate of innovation, technology, and compute that's now available to the world. This is also starting to come to the medical field, and this is uh, Avicena AI, who did a really interesting webinar during COVID about the impact of AI if we allow it more. And they just got FDA approval to start using deep learning technologies to help discover, um, to help clinicians. And this is kind of where we're at in trusting AI to run it through people's medical records. But right now, AI is being brought in to look at CT scans and help within 20 seconds. This tool can identify early acute cases of stroke and pre-stroke. And so we're helping radiologists, still radiologists making the decision, but we're using AI machine learning tools to help accelerate their ability to make those decisions. And as we look at, the current global pandemic and the next one, AI is having a part in that story. And the machine learning that's going on, especially because we have digitized our healthcare records for many years now, thanks to the explosion of Epic software and other EHRs, we're going to continue to see AI have a massive impact inside of our medical field. In the same presentation I gave back in Oshkosh, I talked about years ago that AI-driven chatbots, where you interact with a customer service rep on the phone or in a chat session, are going to be increasingly computers and not humans, because massively staffing giant call centers with individuals running through scripts and answering basic questions, doing password resets, getting you logged back into some system is just low value work that likely chatbots are going to be able to replace. And my prediction there has turned out to be right. In fact, the chatbot market size is projected to grow from 2.6 billion in 2021 to 9.4 billion by 24. That's a CAGR, a compound annual growth rate of 29%. 80% of businesses are expected to have some sort of chatbot automation in 2021. There are over 300,000 different chatbots available on Facebook. And some of the top industries that are using these are real estate, travel, education, healthcare, finance. And 50% of this increased demand from customers that expect businesses to be open and respond to them 24/7. And as well as kind of the next generation is very chat oriented. As I talk to most people, and we even offer it in our own support team, we offer a chat with our team. It's not a bot, it's actual humans, but people prefer, because they can multitask and they can do the chat on their phone and do something else on their computer. And they can often save businesses a significant amount in customer support costs. And so we will continue to see AI in an increased use in our customer service industry. And that is certainly displacing quantities of individuals that are in the market. Just like the steam engine replaced people and manpower inside of our agricultural industry, we are seeing in the fourth industrial revolution, technologies displace typically low skilled jobs that those people will either have to upskill, or a certain portion won't be available. Those jobs just won't be available in the market. And COVID has impacted that even more. And we'll continue to talk about that. Chatbot continues to have use cases, resolving quick complaints or problems, giving answers, just getting you to the right human customer service agent, making reservations in a hotel, paying a bill, buying a basic item, adding yourself to a mailing list, changing your communication preferences. All of these things are areas that the AI chatbot industry is tackling and excelling in. One of the things I like to talk about AI, not just in the business sense, but as we are inside this fourth industrial revolution, and to give people an incentive just how broad this is, AI is even having an impact in the world of arts. As a daughter who's deeply involved in the arts and is going off to an art school, I can say that, hopefully we won't have AI-driven dancers in the future, but we do have artists, visual artists, that, and this one, AI Can, is an artificial intelligent artist. It stands for Artificial Intelligence Creative Adversarial Network. It's a program thought as an autonomous artist learning from existing styles and aesthetics, and can generate and innovate images on its own. And people genuinely like the art that is being done. Its pieces have been exhibited worldwide, and even one was recently sold for over $400,000 at auction. And I'll show you that image. These are some of the images made by AI Can. And then this is the $400,000 portrait image that AI was able to develop. So even within arts, we are seeing a profound impact of compute and the digital revolution and its impact on our world, not just in business, but really even into things that we believe to be fundamentally human: authorship, writing, the arts, play, and sports. It really is a part of every one of these industries. So back to the business and to the effect that this has on people, and this is part of what we call the great decoupling. This shift from labor productivity and in private employment and median household income. And household income, this goes through the mid 2000s. It has actually risen a little bit right before we had this last round of recession given to us by COVID. But we're seeing our productivity and our private employment become decoupled because of this impact of technology. That kind of the haves and have-nots continue to get wider. Those with college continue to earn more. We complain about the cost of college, but there is still this large income gap that says that when you go through these higher levels of education, you are more likely to get out from those jobs that are starting to be replaced by technology, and in a lot of cases by artificial intelligence tools. A lot of the things that we are creating today are entirely digital assets, right? Airbnb has no hotels, but is the largest purveyor of renting rooms for the night. Uber has no drivers on staff. They're all independent contractors and increasingly will use AI to drive their vehicles. They are the largest driver and put more people into cars and cabs, but have no official drivers on staff. There's two websites you can draw your attention to. This was an NPR article back in 2015 that says, will your job be done by a machine? And it gives you a little drop down where you can pick your current job and it will tell you whether you're likely to be replaced. The updated version of that is willrobotstakemyjob.com, and you can see the rankings based on complexity of your job and uniqueness to your role, what jobs are right for computers and AI in the cloud to be able to replace. It has to do with the uniqueness and kind of the ability to not just be a large math problem that comes from your job role. High on that list, I think you'll find surprising, is things like being a radiologist. Radiologists look at CT scans and find nuances in those scans and make decisions about diagnosing medical conditions. We have, the medical version of Watson has run through, as well as that startup I talked about earlier, is developing software that is more accurate at identifying potential diseases in those scans than even humans are, right? We can just feed it data and it will use its machine learning patterns to be able to better understand and retrain itself and to get more accurate over time. So radiologist jobs are at risk from being replaced. It's just really probably the holdup there will be insurance companies and people's willingness to trust a computer making health decisions for them. The other one that's on this list from Will Robots Take My Job is commercial airline pilots. A large portion of your flight is already driven by an onboard computer. We're starting to invent and reinvent new airplanes that are driving by GPS, not fly by wire, and are not following U.S. roadways underneath, but are able to start making the shift to using GPS and other just trusting computers to manage our air traffic. And that's going to have an impact on air travel. And air travel is ripe for more innovation. We haven't really changed much about an airplane in well over 50 years. And it's disruptive because flying is really expensive and we need to solve for that. Again, we talked about this income gap that is going on, and these superstars that were on the previous slide. A large portion of our GDP, a large portion of our high earners, this top 5%, they are the ones that are growing at the fastest. So it's the Elon Musks, it's the Bill Gateses of the world that are just superstars that are coming up with innovative ideas. I don't make that comment on those individuals because I make any claim to liking either of them. It's just an example of the Zuckerbergs, and pick any of them that have these unique ideas, leveraging technology that propel really the globe and the world forward in new ways. And they're holding a substantial amount of our wealth. And as we continue to innovate, and you couple that innovation with something like COVID, the highest impacted area of COVID when it came to job losses during, if we call this a recession, whatever it is that we have going on that's COVID impacted, it's not the high earning jobs. It's not the superstars. In fact, Bezos at Amazon made more money during COVID than he has or ever has before. Just more continuing to reinforce that high wage occupations and superstars, new developers of technology are actually the ones that are going to continue to benefit disproportionately from innovation in technology. So as these job losses occur, will they have jobs to come back to? As we continue to see health wanted signs in our restaurants, will it compel restaurants to move into virtual only, delivery only, and fundamentally change our workforce? Will there be a job flipping burgers for our kids to learn the basics of customer service, or will those options be there in the same way as they were for us when we were growing up? And I think the answer is no, they're not. And that is this compounding impact of technology and AI and the fourth industrial revolution, mixed with some challenging economics that we are facing right now, and the pressure put on those, because we don't have a good way to make these superstars, these top 5%, put their money back into the playing field in an equal way. They're taking that money and leveraging it and investing it in even more technology that is continuing to divide that and widen that gap, which is unfortunate, but also just kind of an interesting analysis of our economy and how things are playing out. So as you see here today, hopefully some interesting and challenging ideas to think about where AI is involved in your day-to-day, as well as inside of your business. There are really good things about these technology. Like I said, I don't think we wanted to hire millions of people to check through log files of computers to be able to identify indications of compromise. So there are good uses of AI and good uses of technology that are going to help even small businesses be more secure and therefore more productive and provide more jobs in the market. And all of those are good signs and good steps forward for the world, but also has real challenges. And we need to be aware of the impact and risks of adversarial AI, the impact of quantum computing, and its ability to leverage that to break things like SSL certificates. And it just tells you that technology is never done evolving. And if your business is using the same technology the same way it was, even 5 years ago, then you are likely on a treadmill that is moving backwards. And that's what's so exciting about this industry for us. And what we get to do here at Wvds every day is, yes, we look towards the future to understand directionally where the world is going, but then we take that directionality. We find the best tools, the best technologies, not just the latest, not the most cutting edge, because not every cutting edge technology ultimately makes it and pans out. But we analyze those technologies and bring that to you and bring it down to the price point available to small businesses and mid-sized organizations and enterprise organizations right here in the Midwest, in the heartland, where we care about making your employees more productive. And one of the ways that we do that here at Wvds is we provide a technology 360 to any new prospect that we meet. It is different than anything else any of our competitors are doing. And it's the first step first time you get to meet one of our virtual CIOs. We're different than everybody else, and that we're a dedicated team of VCIOs, live in the markets that we serve. And these are people with 10, 15, 20 years of IT experience, like myself, that are spending time learning about the direction of where technology is going, constantly evaluating new technologies, and then bringing that to your business. So when you work with a Levity, you're working with a team of technology experts, and it's our job not just to look to the latest trends in cybersecurity, but distill that down, explain it in real terms that you can understand, and we take on the responsibility of learning and forward thinking and strategy, and we provide it unique to your business. We become adjunct members of your business. And just like you hire the best experts to provide you legal advice and financial advice, you need to be hiring the best experts in your technology, because hopefully what you see from today's presentation is just the continued shift and the continued need for evolution in your technology. And your business probably relies on technology, but your primary function is probably something else. You're a business owner, you're an office manager, even if you're an IT leader, you're tasked with the human side of it, the business side of it, continuing to produce your product, produce your service, help your constituents, whatever your industry may be. You need to lay at the hands of experts, people who wake up every day like me and live and breathe technology, and then provide that in a distilled way for unique to your business. And that's what we do. We're doing hundreds of strategic business reviews every year with our customers to help align technology to their business strategy. And COVID has definitely had an impact, but it's also accelerated many great things about the usage of technology. One of those, another shift that we are seeing, is this move towards no desktops anymore. Not just the physical device, but really a move towards a new technology that Microsoft has invented. They're called Wvds, or Windows Virtual Desktops. Don't let the term virtual desktop trick you. Microsoft has innovated, again, a brand new technology that has not existed before. We have been using remote desktop servers or terminal servers since Windows 2000. It's been over 20 years that the remote technology options available to your business were a VPN, or terminal services, or RDS, or really complex virtual desktops from VDI products and solutions. Microsoft saw at the beginning of COVID their need to shift into Microsoft Teams development and work from anywhere, work from any device technology development. And they've come up with Windows 10 Enterprise Multi-Session, a brand new technology that gives new economics and new power to empower employees to be able to work from anywhere securely, from any device securely. I'm going to talk about this in next month's session on June 29th at 10 a.m. Go to levityit.com/events and register for this. You're not going to want to miss it. We have a great giveaway from Microsoft and Microsoft earbuds, or AirPod-like, made by Microsoft devices. We want to stay completely on brand with our friends at Microsoft here. And we're going to walk through this really groundbreaking technology that's going to change how your employees are going to be able to consume and work from any device, anywhere. And all the limitations, the inability to use certain technologies while being on a Zoom call or a Teams call, are how they have overcome those limitations in this latest version, and some unique security aspects to how you connect to this without a VPN, without a gateway, without an SSL certificate that you have to manage. And we're just experiencing another shift that we think here at Levity that we're really on the forefront of, and we're really excited to introduce it to you. We've worked with Microsoft a lot behind the scenes to bring this content to you, and we're really excited to launch it as well. So hopefully you take the time to register for this and join us next month in our thought leadership around WVDs and Windows Virtual Desktops. Thanks for joining us this morning, taking almost an hour out of your day to learn about technology. Hopefully something in today's webinar sparked your interest or had your thoughts. Please feel free to reach out to myself or anyone within your Levity customer service team. Again, if you're a client, we thank you for your business, appreciate the trust that you place in us to help design your technology strategy. If we are not yet your IT provider of choice, really consider reaching out to us. Because we're happy to be here and to help, like we do over 400 businesses every day, make their business more efficient through the use of technology and the leveraging of technology. So thanks for joining us. That's our content. I'll give you a couple minutes to ask any questions that you may have. Otherwise, we will take a break for the day today. And as always, we're going to pass along all of this content so that you can share it with a colleague that maybe would find it interesting as well. So 2-minute pause for questions if they're out there. and then we'll wrap up for today. All right, no immediate questions. My email address is up there. Drop me a note if this was helpful or interesting to you, and if there's anything we can do to help or improve your business. Thanks for joining us today. Again, consider registering at 11vidit.com/events for our next event, whether it be one of our coffee talks or one of our monthly thought leaderships. Thank you, and have a great day.